Caught in the act. Block 1, the suspicion grows. Mark had never been the jealous type. He trusted his wife, Emily, with every fiber of his being. They had been married for 7 years, built a life together, and shared countless dreams. But lately, something felt off. Emily had started working late, her phone was always on silent, and she seemed distant even when she was right next to him. At first, Mark ignored it, convincing himself that it was just stress or overthinking. But then came the excuses, one after another. Tonight, she had told him she was meeting her best friend, Lisa, for dinner. But Lisa had unknowingly betrayed her with a single Instagram post, one that showed her at home, alone, watching Netflix. Mark's heart pounded. Was she lying? And if so, why? Block 2, a dangerous decision. Mark wasn't the type to snoop, but his gut told him he needed to know the truth. He grabbed his car keys and decided to follow her. He kept his distance, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Emily's car pulled into an upscale hotel parking lot. Not a restaurant. Not Lisa's house. A hotel. His throat went dry as he watched her step out of the car, her black dress hugging her body a little too perfectly. She looked around cautiously, then walked inside. Mark's vision blurred with rage and heartbreak. He wasn't ready for what he was about to find, but there was no turning back now. Block 3, the elevator ride. Stepping into the hotel lobby, Mark's mind raced with possibilities. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe she was meeting a client. Maybe. Ding. The elevator doors slid open. Emily was inside. But she wasn't alone. A man stood next to her. Tall, well-dressed, confident. Their hands brushed as the doors closed. Mark barely caught a glimpse of Emily's smile, the same smile she used to give him. He felt sick. Block 4, the hallway of betrayal. Mark didn't even realize he had moved until he was stepping out of the next elevator. He followed the corridor where Emily had gone, heart hammering so loud he thought it might give him away. Then, he saw them. Emily and the man stood outside a room. She laughed at something he said, her fingers grazing his chest before she pulled out a keycard. The door opened. And then they disappeared inside. Block 5, the breaking point. Mark stood frozen. Every cell in his body screamed for him to kick down the door, to demand an explanation, to let his rage explode. But he didn't. Instead, he took a deep breath and pulled out his phone. He snapped a picture of the door. Then, without thinking, he texted Emily. "I know." A minute passed. Then 2. No reply. He turned around and walked away. Block 6, the calm before the storm. Driving home felt surreal, like he was watching someone else's life unfold. The woman he loved, the woman he trusted, was in another man's arms right now. By the time he pulled into the driveway, his phone buzzed. A message from Emily. Know what? Mark let out a bitter laugh. She was still playing games. Still pretending. "Come home," he replied. Now. Block 7, the confrontation. An hour later, Emily walked through the front door, her face composed but her eyes betraying fear. "You scared me," she said, setting her purse down. "Why did you send that message?" Mark held up his phone, showing her the photo of the hotel room door. "Because I was there." Her face drained of color. Block 8, lies and truths. "I can explain," she whispered. "Can you?" Mark's voice was cold. "Who is he?" Emily opened her mouth, but no words came out. The silence stretched between them like a canyon. Then, finally, she sighed. "His name is Daniel." "It was a mistake, Mark." "A mistake?" His voice rose. "You don't make mistakes in hotel rooms." Block 9, the breaking point. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, but Mark felt nothing. No pity. No sympathy. "You don't love me anymore, do you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily looked away. And that was his answer. Block 10, the final decision. Mark nodded slowly. Pack your things. Mark, please. No. He stepped back, his voice steady. You made your choice. Now, I'm making mine. Emily started to cry, but he turned away. He had given her his heart, his trust, his everything. And she had thrown it all away. Now, it was his turn to walk away. Block 11, the aftermath. The house felt empty. Not physically, Emily's things were still there, scattered across their shared space, but emotionally. Mark sat on the couch, staring at the silent walls. His phone vibrated. Emily, can we talk? Please. He didn't answer. What was left to say? Block 12, the unfinished business. 2 days passed. Emily was still in the house, but they barely spoke. Mark avoided her like a ghost. On the third night, she sat across from him at the dinner table. Are you really going to throw everything away? She asked. He let out a bitter laugh. I didn't throw anything away, Emily. You did. She wiped her tears, but he didn't feel sorry. Block 13, the last straw. That night, Mark couldn't sleep. He got up to get some water and saw Emily's phone buzzing on the counter. A message. From Daniel. Did he believe you? Let me know when you're free. Mark clenched his fists. She was still lying. Block 14, the confrontation, round 2. The next morning, Mark dropped her phone in front of her. Daniel texted you. Emily's face went pale. Mark, Stop. His voice was ice. You didn't just cheat. You're still cheating. You don't even regret it. Tears streamed down her face, but Mark was done. Block 15, moving on. That night, Mark packed his bags. You're leaving? Emily asked, voice shaking. I should have left the moment I saw you with him, he said. This house is yours now. It's already broken, just like us. She didn't stop him. Block 16, a new beginning. A week later, Mark sat in a small apartment, staring out the window. He was free. Heartbroken, yes. But free. His phone buzzed. A text from an old friend, Lisa. Hey, I heard what happened. Wanna grab coffee? For the first time in weeks, he smiled. Block 17, Emily's regret. Emily sat in her house, scrolling through old photos. Mark had always been there for her. Always loved her. And she had ruined it. She texted him. I miss you. Seen. No reply. Block 18, the unexpected twist. Months passed. Mark had moved on, or at least, he was trying. One evening, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Emily. With Daniel. Again. Laughing. Holding hands. So much for regret. Block 19, closure. Mark walked past them without a word. She noticed him. Their eyes met. She opened her mouth, but he just nodded, his face unreadable. Then he walked away, this time, for good. Block 20, the final decision. As he stepped outside, Mark took a deep breath. He had lost a wife. But he had gained something more important, his freedom, his dignity, and a future that no longer included betrayal. And that was the best decision he had ever made. Ethan stood in the dimly lit apartment, watching his wife and her lover. They didn't even notice him at first. His heart pounded, but not from pain, from determination. You didn't even try to hide it. His voice was calm, yet ice cold. The woman turned sharply, her face turning pale. Ethan, this isn't what it looks like. No. It's exactly what it looks like. He pulled out his phone and pressed play. The hidden camera in the corner had captured everything, every whisper, every touch. I didn't come here for an explanation. I came to say goodbye. With those words, he tossed his apartment keys onto the table and walked away without looking back. There was nothing left for him here.